So when we were thinking about things to talk about, and we have almost an unlimited number of topics, Scott, you showed me an interesting little image that you generated, and it was you as the
Yeah.
guide to the peak, and it showed different ways to get there. It showed some of the challenges, and I just wanted to ask you, from your perspective, what would you say would be things to consider as a guide to help an organization get to the top, the pinnacle of?
Profitable revenue.
There you go.
Profit revenue top of the mountain. Oh, okay. So I think I know where you're going with this. Um, I think so. I think what's interesting is that, and I don't know if I'm going to answer this directly, but since we're winging it here, I think what you tend to see is that organizations, they want to do well. They want to do well for themselves. They want to do well for their clients. And part of that is this profitable revenue. But oftentimes, they're not quite sure how to get there, right? So they're not sure, um, you know, uh, how I would describe this is that they may not have the really strong sales fundamentals around their sales process, right? So I think that oftentimes there's a benefit to having somebody with an experienced outside perspective to come in there, assess where they are, assess where they want to get to, and then guide them on that journey. And that could be, do they really understand who their ideal customer is? Are they doing really good discovery? Do they have a plan for managing objections and negotiating in the sales process? And this to me is almost like the idea of that path to the top of the mountain. You're going to encounter challenges, you're going to encounter hurdles, you're going to encounter forks in the road, and you're like, which way do we go here? And oftentimes, that experienced guide who's been there, done that, knows what uh, pitfalls to avoid and knows the safest, not necessarily the fastest, but the safest way to get there. And I think what I've often found is that it's not necessarily because I'm so smart.
SMRT.
But it's because I've been there, I've made those mistakes, and I've learned from them. And now it's no longer about winging it. It's a matter of getting down to those basics and fundamentals of a sales process. So that's how I would answer that, a
Well,
long-winded answer.
sure. And I would just say, if you and I are at the base of a mountain, let's pick Everest just because it's easy to think about. If I wanted to go myself and try and make it to the top, chances are I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
You would be smarter because you would pick the guide that's going to take you there because the guide has been there before and the guide will show you the path. If you did that a couple times, you would soon be able to do that on your own.
It's a great point.
And that's part of this process. And when you talk about helping the team and upskilling no, nobody talks upskilling. It's a horrible word.
I say that word, by the way.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Don't judge.
I'm not. Judgment-free zone, judgment-free zone. If you did that a couple of times with a guide, you would soon be at a point where you would feel much more comfortable doing it on your own.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that you and I see from our experience, having lived and worked in the corporate world and got the battle scars to show for it. And also in our advisory capacities, it's the same thing. It's not that we want to do it forever with somebody. We get success when we see somebody we work with get successful.
You're talking about consulting our way out of a job.
Essentially, that's it. And I think a good guide does the same thing. You're going to get to that point where if you want to do that journey again, you'll have a better idea of what's required because you've been there before with the guidance of somebody who's an expert in that area.
So I'm envisioning a scenario where five really talented, athletic people who are good mountain climbers get to a new mountain they haven't been to before. Are they going to say, well, you know what, we can do this? Or is it going to be smarter and safer for them to say, we could do this, but it'd be better for us if we actually hired a guide who has been on this path before and can guide us through the process?
I think the latter makes the most sense. If you're really adventurous and you're a real entrepreneur, you might take the five of you and try it on your own. But
However,
how many of those actually exist in the world?
yeah.
Most of us need the guide to get us started, get us to the top, and most importantly, back safely.
So I think maybe to wrap this up with a question, and I'm thinking about some people that I'm dealing with right now, it's the idea of, do you have a goal, a destination you want to get to? Are you going through a period of change? And or are you looking for ways to build a safer, more efficient path to success? And if you are, that may be a good time to bring in a marketing and or a sales guide.
Well, let's wrap it with a view of those three things we talked about from the beginning. Do you know your capabilities? Are you clear on what that definition is and where you're trying to get to? And are you all aligned to pull together to get to the top?
Those are great questions. Hopefully, you guys are thinking about those things. Be safe on your climb.
Onward.